Welcome to the Focus on Why podcast. I'm Amy Rowlandson and I ask my guests one simple question. Why? Focusing on the importance of why, I share with you the relatable, uplifting and inspiring conversations I have with people from all walks of life. This podcast will encourage you to focus on your why to enable and empower you to achieve the success you desire. Have a purpose, have a plan, focus on why. Before we start, I would like to draw your attention to my weekly email newsletter, Friday Focus. Each Friday, I focus on one topic with one action arising. The link to sign up is in the show notes, or head over to amyrowlandson.com and sign up right now. Today on Focus on Why, I am joined by Wafaa Powell. Welcome.
Hi, how are you, Amy?
I'm really well, thank you. And we have the lovely Caroline Kavanagh from episode 320, Grow Your Comfort Zone, to thank for the introduction. So thank you, Caroline.
She's a good friend of mine.
Fabulous. Well, this is how it works. I get so many people apply to come on the show, but if I have a recommendation, they tend to go to top of the list. So here we are, Wafaa. Here is your Focus on Why episode today.
Thank you.
So tell me, what is it you're focusing on right at the moment?
Actually, it's a very big question. I don't think it's just as simple as one thing, because although my focus is on food, I'm not a nutritionist, so I can't claim to do the science, although I know I love to eat and I love to cook. But I also have grown up in a culture where food is at the heart of everything we do. So I have seen the result of it. So my focus, although is on the food, but also on the social power of food, I would say. So that seemed to be whatever I do comes back to that. As you might be aware, my business have two hats, the belly dancing and the food, Lebanese food, because I'm Lebanese. And when people ask me, what do you want to focus on or what you're focusing on, it always makes me laugh, because when I say I'm focusing on belly dancing at the moment, all my inquiries and business booking comes on food. I say, okay, I'm focusing on food now. Then all the inquiries come about belly dancing. So I thought, you know what, I will go with the flow. My focus is wherever I can be with people, bringing joy to people. And at the same time, actually, that's what brings joy to me. And it just seemed to work as simple as that. So that's my focus, bringing joy to people through the means of eating healthy, fresh, simple food and sharing it. And those, I would say, are the two pillars of what I do.
Oh my goodness. It's so exciting. So food at the heart and having the social power of food. Tell me a bit more about the social power of food.
You see, life taught me through life experiences and challenges as I was growing up. I am from Lebanon. I grew up and I lived 20 years of war. And then I left to South Africa, where I met my husband, lived a few years, came back to England. So I have been hopping through totally different cultures. And of course, there's lots of challenges to what seems like an ideal way of living, from a country to a country, getting married and whatever. It was a very challenging time of my life, plus coming out just for 20 years of war. And there is something about people gathering around food that ground us as a human, makes us feel we belong, makes us all equal. And so it is a great belief in my heart, in my life, in my everyday life, that food bring people together. And I think it's the weapon we really need to use now to cure humanity, because I think we are in a quite a difficult time as a human. We are struggling on all levels as a humanity all. And I think food, the simple food, which we all need, is something we need to survive, but just sharing it, taking it a little bit beyond just for the body, makes all the difference to our personal life and to our community.
Now, food is quite a big issue because of the way that food has evolved over the last few sort of decades. And if you look at the high levels of sugar content of processed food. Now, you're talking about food that you make from scratch with your hands.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'll tell you what, I repeat, I'm not a nutritionist, so the science is for those nutritionists. But I believe I grew up in whatever your body can cope with, it's good. I don't believe in superfood, whatever people tell me, because all food is super. And we need a big variety. So my belief in when it comes to good food, to healthy food, is fresh food, cooked from scratch, shared and enjoyed. So if you don't like aubergine, well, you can live without eating aubergine. So nobody have to eat what they don't like to eat. But we have to be mindful of eating different source of nutrients. So that's my own belief, which I lived by. I observed all my life. And none of my family or anyone I know have an allergy or anything. I think that's another maybe not politically correct term for food. I think we're making it very complicated. We're making it attached to lots of guilt, which I think take the pleasure of food. Food need to be a pleasure, need to be something we enjoy, we gather around, we share. And I believe that the benefit will outweigh if we have wheat or if we have dairy or whatever.
So let's move on to your other pillar in life. So from one type of the belly to the other type of the belly. Tell me about how belly dancing has become something that you are using in your work.
Well, I will, before I answer your question, my motto in my business, and I always say, introduce myself. I fill your belly with Lebanese food and I wobble it with belly dancing. Well, belly dancing is something I grew up with, and it's a cultural thing. It's what women do, and men do also in social occasions. So it's the whole family, the whole community, but particularly it's a women dance. I always danced. I grew up doing it like I did at home. I never had a stage background, if you want, with the belly dancing. It's something you love to do, always did. Family, friends, we see it on TV. I never been to a course even until I finished my qualification at uni. Before, in my growing up days, there were no courses for it. So it's something I just love to do. And when I came to England and I trained, I decided what I want to do as a business is counseling. I decided I'm going to be a counselor. I love people. I like to help. My background is sociology and psychology and teaching. So I thought that will lead to all of that. To pay for the course, I started running belly dance classes, which to my surprise took off. And it became more therapeutic and more fun than the counseling. So that's my destiny changed. Life changed my path. And that's how I started running classes. And after that, I was invited to join the WI's speakers. So I've been, I can say easily, if not to all, to most WI's in Wiltshire and Somerset. And sometimes I'm invited 3-4 times to the same group. And then, so from this group, sort of local groups invited me to do a hen party. So I thought, oh, that's a good idea. I'll do hen parties as a business. And somebody invited me to cook for their birthday. So yeah, and so that's what it is. So I'm belly dancing. It's part of the joy we need. We need to move. It's the music that comes with it. I think it's a natural thing we do as a human, basic. That's one of those basic things. But there is something about dancing that lifts the spirit. And belly dancing particularly reaches women's spirit more than any other dance. Plus the health, I don't know, are you aware why I started belly dancing? Do you know why most people have the wrong idea about it. Do you have an idea?
No, other than my research on looking on Wikipedia, which I'd love to hear your version.
Yeah, well, most people think it's to entertain men. So I always say, if you have a nice man, entertain him. Why not? Well, what you do in your own space is totally up to you. Actually, belly dancing originated to help women with their period pain and birth pain. And it developed into entertaining women, to entertain women themselves. So it's as women when they gathered. It was one of the oldest form of hen parties. So when women was getting married, the whole family will gather, and the girls certainly, and they prepare her and they have fun and they dance. But then as it developed, because it's over 2,000 years old form of dance, as it developed, they found the benefit of it is not just to the sort of related to birth and period. It also it lifted the spirit. It helped express emotions that are difficult to express. But in my experience, the best thing belly dancing gave me and gave the ladies who come to my class is the body confidence. And so as women, so we can accept ourselves as we are, whatever size, shape, and age. In my class, I've got two ladies who are in their 80s. I can't tell you, they're amazing. So, so yeah, it's just it's something. It's a whole world in its own right.
It is really incredible, and I love the energy that you have. And you say you lift the spirit. Well, you're lifting the spirit with your work and your purpose, because this is just such a beautiful way of celebrating social coming together of women, and but also mixed groups here. What we're talking about is really quite a primal movement here. And as you said, it was for the benefits of the female body originally. Absolutely. I was listening to a podcast yesterday, and they were talking about how they don't like to, the doctor or the professor who was speaking doesn't like to use the word exercise, because a lot of people then think of sport, but instead he was describing it as movement. And again, that word has been something you've brought forward here, is just moving your body, and how important it is. We're not meant to be sedentary, and our lives have become so much more sedentary. And with that, the shift in the way that we eat as well, as opposed to coming together. A lot of people are on the move, or they're eating alone. So what you're doing is bringing people together in two incredible ways.
I like to think so, and the feedback tells me. I'm always asking for feedback because I believe we always learn. Maybe I've been lucky, or the response. I in the 18 years I've been doing the dancing first, and 10 years food and dance. I would say I had two customers who had something to say, that I wouldn't say it was like dancing on the roof for me, but in the numbers of people I fed and I danced with, and I had them to celebrate birthdays, hen parties, dinner parties, team building, you name it. I think two in those thousands and thousands and thousands, I'm happy to take the feedback. So yeah, in general, that's what I bring.
So tell me, Wafaa, this is what you're doing now. How has this become what it is? What was your journey to understanding that movement and food was your purpose and your focus on why?
Well, I believe it was part of me before I understood it. I was always energetic. I was the only one in the family. I could not stay still. I'm the youngest of 7, so I was a shock to everyone's system. And my mom couldn't, just bless her, cope. I'm just like on the move all the time. So I've been lucky to have this level of energy. Food is what I grew up with, and that's what I promote. What my mom, who couldn't read and write, cooked with all her love, because that was how she showed her love. So giving her the cooking all her attention, she never complained about having to cook. She waited by the saucepan until it's all done and ready. And although all the culture we eat very similar, her food tasted very different. So, and I think I grew up with those two things were innate. I love to eat. That's something I'll tell you, most people think because I talk about food and healthy food, I love cakes. Just give me cakes. All comes out of the window. There is no no doubt about it. So those two things were never on my radar as way of work or potential business. One thing I never wanted to do in my life as I was growing up, I never wanted to be a teacher. But as life has its own way, I ended up a teacher for 14 years. And that's, it was one of the things available in the war, and I did it. That's in Lebanon. Then when I finished my master degree in sociology, I had the opportunity to work with the Lebanese university on filling questionnaires and analyzing them to see where the country is. So that was also dealing with people. So both works I've done were dealing with people, but I didn't want to do the teaching, but I did it because it was what is there, and I enjoyed it, and I like to think I did a good job. Anyway, so after that, I went on holiday, met my husband, didn't work until the children went to school, the young one. Then I had to think and decide what I want to do. Didn't want to go to anything I've done before. Counseling came in my mind. I trained. I loved it. I gained personally, I would say, the best learning of my life, the awareness, the ability to be aware of what I do and other people do and how it affects our life. So that was, I would say, the biggest learning and qualification I ever had. And I apply it in my days today. As I said, I found the food and the dancing is more therapeutic, more joyful. So yeah, the business is a result of life, I would say, opportunities that I got hold of and ran with.
So you said you never wanted to be a teacher. What was your real desire not to be?
Why? I think maybe because I was surrounded by teachers, I didn't know what else I wanted to do. I really never knew what I wanted to do. All what I knew, what I wanted to be surrounded by people always. So that's something, the only thing I knew. That's hence sociology. I thought that is my way into wider knowledge about human in general with everything. And it did open the door to me to work with people. But as I said, it seems to me, tell you one thing, very, very interesting and exciting in a way. The thesis for my master degree was about Lebanese women marrying, or Lebanese man marrying foreigners women. So it's not Arabic women. And I end up marrying an Englishman. Who knew? So all that life, I find whatever happens seemed to be leading without me knowing or wishing, but I certainly took the opportunity, I would say.
Yeah. And so that holiday in South Africa, almost not ever going home.
Well, I didn't. Actually, I didn't. And we were in the national media because between meeting and getting married, it was less than a month, 27 years ago.
Wow.
So you see, I don't plan.
How did you find yourself in the media? Did you let them know that was the plan? I mean, how did they know?
No, I network a lot. I love people. So I'm always talking to anyone who can listen to me. I love talking. I love people. So I network a lot. And actually, how did this one come by? I can't remember. There is another one coming up on the 5th of September about belly dancing in Bella magazine, but I can't remember even which magazine. I was in the first one, but I think it's word of mouth and people heard my story, and then yeah.
So less than a month, and you were fairly young at the time, I assume.
No. I was 35 and Dave was 37.
Wow. Okay. Right. There we go. So I'm just looking at you, Wafaa, and thinking, my goodness, you look amazing. So for those who can't hear, the math doesn't make sense, but just go with the math, go with the story.
I'm 62 and I'm loving it.
So this is really interesting because the movement and the food clearly is doing a lot for the way that you are living, the way you're approaching everything in life.
Yeah, I feel there is a lot of lots about modern life I'm not very keen on. There is, life, society change, life change. We're progressing at a speed unbelievable. And we as a human haven't progressed enough to cope peacefully with all this fast change. And I think, I like to think I am trying to be a little bit more in control in not following trends just because they are sold to me. And I mentioned that in my TEDx talk. I did TEDx talk nearly a year ago. And that is, I think we have, as a human, have to take responsibility for the food is important. I buy a takeaway sometimes. I don't eat ready meals, nor none of my family. And I think that is a big downfall in our humanity when it comes to food. So the food is important, the movements are important, but I think simplicity has a lot to also to, we need to think more about it louder. We don't have to buy everything sold to us as a material thing or as a concept. So I think that's this pressure put on us. Well, we put on ourselves. We put on ourselves to do everything going. And I think I invest my time more in making strong connections. I have a friends. When I want to invite friends, I can't remember all of them because I've got so many of them. And it's what makes my life grounded, safe, relaxed. Even when I just want to tear my hair out and cry, I always got somebody. I'm always ready for someone who to knock at my door for. So I invest my time and my energy in people instead of material things. Don't get me wrong, I've got on holiday and I've got a house and I've got a car. So I'm not living in the wild way, but keeping a lid on how what I'm chasing, I think we need to take control of that, really.
Tell me a bit more about the control.
We as a human follow trends. We always do, because we want to fit in, we want to be accepted, we want to be one of the crowd. And what I observe lately, that most of those trends, because they're fast, because most of them, they're unnatural, they go beyond our basic human need, and we just follow blindly. Even people, highly educated people, I find they just do it because it's there, because we can. So I think it is that really not serving us as a human. Hence the stress, the anxiety, the loneliness, the mental health explosion, really. It's just look back at the history when people were more together, lots of our problem didn't exist. When people ate fresher, they didn't have this health problem. When they gathered more often, they didn't have all this loneliness, anxiety, stress, suicide, you name it. It was always there, but the scale of it is gone out of control. And I think, we can say the government should do something, whoever it controlled the world, and bring stuff every time you open your eyes, there is a new gadget, a new thing we have to have, a new makeup we have to have, a new clothes, you name it. And I think we can't keep blaming everyone. Let's see, I need technology because I'm talking to you. I could have not without it. I've got family all over the world. I'm seeing them. I'm grateful for that. But then there is things we don't necessarily need, or we don't need as much of. So that's why I think we need to take responsibility as people to control that aspect of our life and focus on what serves us better, which is investing in our human relationships.
And you spoke earlier about your mum and how she would spend ages cooking and providing, and that it was absolutely her love language to be that provider, to be the gift was probably her love language in giving and receiving gifts, which is incredible. Or maybe if it was acts of service in terms of having that requirement of knowing her purpose in the world. Now, what is it that you are looking to achieve with your combination of food and movement? What's the mission?
I don't believe I can save the world, and that's not my mission. I'm not aiming for the world. I'm aiming for a little community around me. So the way I see it, my family, my friends next door, I have a fear of strangers, believe it or not, but anybody I have a familiar face is my friend, as simple as that. And I've got a lot of friends, as I just mentioned, and in all level of friendship. And I invest in that. I convinced people that they can knock at my door without 3 months looking in the diary to meet up for a coffee. And some they do. They knock at the door. If I'm in, they come in. And most of the time, Amy, they make my coffee because I'm busy doing something else. So they make their drink and they make me one, by the way. So creating this ease of connection between us. And I don't believe it's always about me and everybody. We seem to focus a lot. It's all about me, what I need, what I want, and that is separating us a lot. And I think we need a little bit of tolerance back into and I think a bit of simpler life. We're human at the end. Our basic needs will never change. Since humanity existed till now, till whenever, the more we go away from them or make those extra things more complicated, our life is more miserable for it. So what I aim to do and what I love to think I'm doing, I'm bringing the joy of simpler life without going living in the wild, you know? I don't want to go live in a tent, but there is somewhere in between.
And you just mentioned that you've got a fear of strangers and yet you love networking. How does that work? Because they seem to me as though they're in conflict.
Well, we are complex humans anyway. We're very complicated. But I mean, stranger is stranger. But I walk into a room and actually I am known in networking circles that if somebody comes new on their own, I bring them in. I just love people naturally. But then when you go networking, you are in a contained situation. So I don't expect to have a killer there or somebody who's going to come and frighten me. You know what I mean? So there is the sense of a crowd and groups. And that actually, you know what? I never thought about it. But then now, as we talk, I think why I feel so strong and comfortable and loud, and everybody knows I'm there because I talk to everyone. Maybe because there is some safety in groups, in the connection, in knowing where you are. So I don't think about it before. So
Well, I mean, anybody coming out of living in war conflict for 20 years is going to have some kind of fear of something. And absolutely, you know, not knowing people and not knowing who they are would make sense. Okay.
Yeah.
But as going to a network event is a very different environment, of course, and a safe environment. But you were talking about that sense of belonging and having lived in different countries. The difference between fitting in and belonging for you right now is at the core of your work.
It took me when we came in South Africa, it was difficult. I didn't know a soul and it's too scary to go out. So you can't just go out. So I didn't do anything. 4 years, I was just like locked in. I had the children, my daughter and things like this. But when we came to England, that's where I knew that's where we're going to live, because that wasn't planned already. It was I wouldn't say a quick decision, but it wasn't when I got married. So it just happened. And we decided we're going to move because Dave is from England. And so we did. But I knew on a subconscious level that that's where I'm going to live. So I needed to make it home. So when you come into a new place, you can't expect people to run to you. Sometimes it happens, but in general, it's one's personal responsibility to make it home. And to me, to make it home is to know people. And it took me a few years because, of course, I come from a different culture where everybody talk to everybody invite everybody. And so I did that here. It didn't work very well, I have to say. For a few years, people were lovely, but very, very distant. And it took until I started my dance classes, when I started to make friends. And the first time I felt like, you know what, I made it, I am home, is when I walked in Tesco's and somebody said hello to me. And that took years, but I worked hard in those years. I didn't waited for the world to come to me. Every opportunity to invite people, to talk to anybody. I'm sure I confused people a lot. Actually, I did frighten some of them, because I heard later on from some of who became my friend. They said, what does she want from us? Why she's inviting us all the time? So I'm desperate for people. That's all it is. But they're all my friends now.
I love it. Oh, it's brilliant. Wafaa, tell me, how would people get in contact with you and find out more about what you're offering?
I network a lot, so I know lots of people face to face. I am on Facebook, and just a warning word about Facebook. I opened the page by mistake and I don't know how to close it. So if you see me on Facebook, one with a red top, don't don't follow me on this one. The one with an apron and it says Dancing Flavours, that's the name of my business. So white apron with Dancing Flavours, that's the right page for my Facebook. I've got a business page called Dancing Flavours on Facebook. I am on Instagram, dancing_flavors, full of pictures of hen parties and birthday parties and even my garden and fig trees and you name it. And I'm also on LinkedIn. And I have my website that is all the W's with dancingflavors.co.uk.
Oh, magic. I love that you've opened a page on Facebook. Who knows how Facebook works? It's a mystery to me too.
I just do it. You know what? I do it. I just do what I love to do, what I think it comes to me. So, and it is what it is. As simple as that. I like to share if it's something nice, something somebody said, some recipes. Sometimes I just like courgette season. If you look on my page now, you got a recipe for courgette because everybody's struggling with courgette at the moment.
Wow, before they turn into marrows as well. So tell me, Dancing Flavours, how did that get the name that it has?
That is, I'm grateful for that, for my niece. For years, I couldn't get what I want to call my business. So I was Wafaa belly dancing, Wafaa Lebanese food, Wafaa catering. And I thought, nah, So my niece, who is very, very creative, and she has a lot of me in her. So everybody who knows her, she knows. And I said to her, come on, I don't know what name. And she said, Dancing Flavours. And that was it.
Brilliant.
So it's all come to my niece who gave me the name. And it's actually, lots of people like it because it's it says what's on the tin, in the tin.
Absolutely. It really does. It's fabulous. And Wafaa, it has been an absolute pleasure talking about your Dancing Flavours, your focus on why. It really has. Thank you. Have you got some final words for the listener, please?
Yeah, I'm feeling very wise at the moment and big-headed, but my word is, or my simple thing to share is please, please, please invest in people, not in money, in acquiring materialistic things. When all the things go wrong and down, it's only human who will save us human. So invest your time in making friends, in inviting people around, open your heart, open your home, share even a biscuit. It doesn't have to be anything fancy, whatever. Just open your heart and your home and then make space for other human in your life because that's the only thing that will save us as a human.
How has this conversation had an impact on you? What value have you received from tuning in? What are your reflections with actions? Please take a moment to leave me an Apple Podcast or Spotify review sharing how Focus on Why has made a difference to you today. Remember, the conversation doesn't end here. To keep it going, simply connect with me on LinkedIn, Instagram, Facebook or Twitter, or join the Focus on Why Facebook group. All the links are in the show notes. Have a purpose, have a plan, focus on why.